Apple is changing. From the company that came up with the very first Wi-Fi equipped laptop to the one that introduced the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad, Apple is definitely one of the most recognizable companies in human history. I've been an Apple user since 2007, so for the past 14 years, and since this time, I've noticed that Apple went through what I would call 3 different stages: the innovation era, the recycling era, and let's say the generosity era, with the latter just beginning in 2019. And in this video, I'm going to cover those 3 periods, and also another one which is starting pretty soon. So without any further ado, get our snacks ready and enjoy. What I would call Apple's innovation era started in 2001 with the introduction of the very first iPod. At a global scale, if 1 out of 100 people knew about Apple before the iPod, after the iPod, that number changed considerably to something like 20 out of 100. These are just my estimates, by the way, but for someone who grew in Europe, I can tell you that after the original iPod launched, that was when people started going nuts for Apple products. However, the golden age of the innovation era was between 2007 and 2012, as that was when Apple released a number of truly revolutionary products. 2007 was also the year when I got my very first Apple product, this guy right here, the iPod Nano 3rd generation, which still works like new 14 years later. And 2007 was also when the original iPhone came out.
An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone.
iPods were super popular, and MacBooks were years ahead of Windows laptops in terms of the build quality, the display, the trackpad battery life, and operating system. This was the time when everyone was viewing Apple as the company that no one could even come close to, the company that had the highest quality and the most beautifully designed products on the planet, which were not just easy to use, but so technologically advanced that you could think that they literally came from the future. Like, I remember going to the electronics store and just seeing the iPod Nano 3rd generation next to other MP3 players from 2007. And the difference between them, the difference in terms of the design and functionality and everything, was just gigantic, as you can probably tell. Also take a look at the iPhone and some of the other smartphones from 2007, and now take a look at the MacBook and some of the other laptops from that time, and yeah, you get what I mean. This was the time when Steve was at his best, and with every single new product that Apple launched, they wanted to make something that would just destroy the previous model. As you see, Apple's #1 competitor was themselves. So this is why every year the iPod Nano, for example, got some massive changes. This is why we started getting an aluminum MacBook in 2008, then the MacBook Air launched the same year, which was the world's thinnest laptop by far, also one of the very first laptops to use solid-state storage. The iPhone 3G, which was released just a year after the original iPhone, already redesigned the phone by adding a completely different back as well as a second color option. The iPhone 3GS from 2009 then added powerful improvements such as a twice as powerful processor, video recording capabilities for the camera, plus autofocus as well as a compass. The iPhone 4 from 2010 then not only added a full redesign with a stainless steel frame and a full glass body, but it also included a Retina display. The very first time in history of the tech world where you couldn't see a single pixel on an LCD display. The 2012 MacBooks then followed suit, with Apple introducing the very first Retina display in a laptop. So it was pretty clear that Apple was at peak innovation season. But then after Steve Jobs passed, Apple moved into what I would call a recycling era. And even though Steve died in 2011, the recycling era only started years later in 2014, and that was because Apple's products were designed and worked on many years in advance. And it was actually said that the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 5S, which launched in 2012 and 2013, were still projects that Steve was heavily involved in. But after the iPhone 6 launched, you probably noticed that Apple was very stagnant. The iPhone 6s followed the tradition of keeping the same design, but then the iPhone 7 also had the same design. Not only that, but even the iPhone 8, which launched a year later, also had the same design. It did add a glass back, but the front was essentially identical. This was also the period when Apple launched the iPhone SE series, both the original and the second gen, which both looked like a previous model of the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 6, but with more modern components inside. This was also the period when Apple recycled the MacBook Air's design from 2011, and they used that up until 2018. Also the period when the iPad remained mostly unchanged until 2018, and also the period when Apple introduced secondary iPad models with the new Air, the Pro, as well as a brand new entry-level iPad. And two of these models, the Air and the entry-level, recycled older designs too, while only updating the components inside. But I think the biggest example here of recycling is the iMac, which hasn't received a single redesign in 9 years. So Apple's pure focus in this period has been on making profits. And in fact, Apple actually reached $1 trillion valuation in 2018. But I do feel quite sad that Steve's mentality of always trying to compete with themselves is now over. Today, when Apple releases a major change to their products, like the iPhone X was, like the iPad Pro was, or like the AirPods Pro were to the original AirPods, they were all priced higher and considered Pro models. Whereas back in Steve's era, these would have simply been the new model of that product, priced at the same price as before, or in some cases, even lower. The original iPhone was $499 on contract, and the iPhone 3G was $199. What an amazing deal. Wow. And speaking of great deals, check out Zen, our sponsor for this video. An app which honestly left me so surprised to the point where we might even use it for Zone of Tech in some cases. Okay, but what is it? Well, Zen allows you to have your own Zen shopping card, which gives you a ton of perks. First, it gives you up to 15% cash back on anything you buy using your Zen MasterCard. Second, you can have up to 30 currencies on your account as opposed to traditional banking where you need a separate account for each currency. And third, you get 1 year of extended warranty on any electronic products that you buy. And actually 4, if you receive a faulty product or you simply want to return your product, you can super easily do that through Zen. You get an instant refund to your account, and if you're a business user, you get some pretty amazing benefits too. Like if someone buys your item and then tries to say that he didn't get it and scams you through a chargeback, that actually happened to us by the way, well, Zen will take care of all of that. Pretty incredible. Check it out using the link below, and thanks to Zen for sponsoring this video. But the good news is that I believe that the third era has now started, which is what I would call the generosity era. This started in 2019, and I've noticed that Apple's mentality has actually changed quite a lot since, with the introduction of the brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro, a laptop which was by the way announced without an actual Apple event, and it not only backtracked in terms of the butterfly keyboard and therefore gave consumers exactly what they wanted by going to a previous design, but Apple also made some other unexpected changes, like they actually made the laptop thicker in order to pack a larger battery into it. They improved the cooling and they thinned out the bezels. Essentially, they straight up admitted that they were wrong and that consumers were right and gave them exactly what they requested. Then something similar happened with iOS 14 when Apple not only gave consumers on-screen widgets, but also gave them an app drawer, both things that Android users have had for years, and both things that consumers have been requesting Apple to add for years. And this is the Apple era that we're in right now, an era where Apple is actually listening to their consumers. A good example of this would be Mark Gurman's report on the upcoming MacBooks, where he states that Apple is even considering removing the Touch Bar from the next-gen MacBook Pros, which will come out this year. And that's a massive thing. The Touch Bar was Apple's iconic new feature for the 2016 generation of MacBook Pros. But I, like many others, have found it to be quite useless, mostly because of the weak app support and integration, and a lot of users actually just prefer having physical keys instead. And it seems like Apple is generally considering doing just that, admitting that they were wrong and fixing their mistakes. Not only that, but as you all probably know, both Min-Chi Kuo and Mark Gurman reported that Apple would bring back the SD card slot on the new MacBooks, something that they removed in 2016. And on top of that, Apple is also said to be adding some new ports too, which some of them could be some more USB Type-C ports, as well as the return of MagSafe, which was also removed back in 2016. I really like this. Apple finally giving consumers what they want rather than thinking that, oh, We know what's best for our consumers. So in the end, whilst I do miss Apple's innovation era, I gotta say that I'm super excited for this generosity era that I believe we're in right now. And I have a feeling that Apple's innovations era will be making a return possibly as early as this year. Not only are we set to be getting brand new MacBooks this year, but Apple will also be including their new next-gen processors, custom processors, inside more Macs too. We've seen how well received the M1 Macs were, and this year, Apple's going to take that to the next level. We've also seen reports on Apple's upcoming AR glasses as well as their VR headset, which are both set to completely revolutionize the way we interact with technology today. Not even to mention Apple's upcoming secret, or not so secret, car project. So it's quite obvious that Apple is working on some major products, and I'm really looking forward to another era of innovation from Apple. I just hope that they also start innovating again when it comes to the iPhone, as right now the iPhone is lacking many features that their competition has, such as a high refresh rate display, always-on functionality, a periscope zoom lens, reverse wireless charging, and many more. The Macs are doing just fine, it's just that I feel that the iPhone is being left behind. So I'm starting to wonder, what if Apple could make or would make the perfect iPhone? Like with all the components realistically that they have today, what if they actually made the best iPhone that they can make today, like back in the day? Well, that's a topic for another video. So definitely subscribe for that video. Hit the bell icon, give this video a like if you enjoyed it to let me know. And this has been pretty much it. So thank you for watching. I'm Daniel. This has been Zone of Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zone of Tech signing out. Cheers.